What is going on? Jason right here. Welcome to Section 8. You are kicking butt, and if you are doing this course in order, you're almost done, my friend. In this video, we're going to talk about custom contact fields. So I'll give you kind of a preview of the next two videos as well. So custom fields is really where the CRM in ActiveCampaign shines. If you go to your contacts main menu and you look here under Manage, you go to Fields, this is going to expose you to custom fields. So this video is going to be about contacts. The next video, we will get into deal custom fields. In the third video of this section, we will get into account custom fields. What are custom fields? Well, they're exactly what they sound like. You'll notice in ActiveCampaign there is about 6 default options, and those are these right here. Then everything else in this sandbox account you're looking at has been created. It is going to capture information that is relevant to the stuff you want to know about your contacts. You see some examples here, city, state, etc. Information, right? Like how can I help you? That may have come from a form, like a contact form. Are you a U.S. citizen? That would be for like real estate investors. How'd you hear about us? Keep track of your referrals, etc. So within this view, you have the general details group, which is the default, and you can actually create additional groups, which are whatever. And I showed somebody this as an example. So if I look at my business, and we look at the same thing, this is for intentionally inspirational, the digital marketing business. There's a little peek behind some of the custom fields that I have. So I've got the info you'd expect. Lead source, are they on our reseller program? I've got specific programs in here under different groups. Coaching program stuff, podcast guests, inactive program info from older things I've retired, etc., etc. Okay, so when you look at a contact, I'll go back to our sandbox account, you will see the fields you create. So this right here is hiding empty fields. So there's kind of your default view most of the time. These are all the custom fields we've created down here. All right, within the other groups, the other fields are down there as well. So I've seen people with hundreds of custom fields, and I taught them about groups so that they could collapse them and kind of condense it a bit more. As you saw at the beginning, you do have this option to hide empty fields. And if you want to get right into the fields and make adjustments, you can go to this Manage Fields spot here. Take you right back to where we were. All right. The contact custom field, it's not only information that you might want in the back end of your system, like if you're on the call with somebody you might want to enter, but you can pull the data for these fields in from direct integrations, like with Calendly, like I showed you in the previous section. When people book on my Calendly, it's pulling over first name, last name, email, phone number if they entered it for text reminders. It's going to ask them where they heard from me. It's going to tell me what they want to talk about, etc. So to create a custom field at the contact level, which again is the main view in ActiveCampaign. It's the main view for a contact. It's this view here. Here's how you're going to do it. You go back to this Manage Field screen, add a field, and you're going to name it, right? So if you have a form with a specific field name and you need that info in ActiveCampaign, it is the least confusing thing you can do is name this the same as the field in the form. I see people do this all the time where they'll call it, let me think of an example. They'll call it postal code on their form. In ActiveCampaign, they'll call it zip code, right? They'll use these different ways of saying stuff, and a lot of times, once they get enough custom fields, they'll start getting confused and be like, oh, I don't know. Right, so you'll see this general group right here, this general details group defaults, and you can actually modify it, pop it under your different groups, and you can call your field whatever you want to. I'll call this example, and then you have different field types, okay, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Here's what I'll tell you. The most common one you'll use is text input. Text area is a larger version of text input, so text area might be used if you have a form that says like, hey, tell me the reason why you're thinking about joining this coaching program, right? It might be a paragraph or a couple paragraphs, so text area makes sense. Date is exactly what it sounds like. Date and time is what it sounds like. Drop down gives people options. List box, not something I use often. Radio buttons I like. And I'll show you some examples. Checkboxes, and then hidden fields are specific for, there's some special cases for hidden fields. Like if people want to unsubscribe, you can kick them to a form to make them update their preferences, that type of thing. So if we look at some of these examples, all right, so you can see the types right here. So this is asking if somebody is on my reseller program. So it's going to be very simple, yes or no, or do not market to. So I might have some people that are not on the program, but they've said don't ever talk to me about this again. I have these different options, and for me, I have different automations that turn on and off based on what the answer is for this specific custom field. You can take the custom fields and put them on forms, kind of play around and see. There's lots you can do. I like radio buttons when there's two or more options and you can only pick one. Right? Checkbox, this is about people inviting me to come speak. This is what type of event or events are you having. So in this case, they could select one or more, so it makes sense. One thing I'll tell you is sometimes if you have a form, like a third-party form, or even if you are trying to take information from one software and put it into ActiveCampaign with a direct API, sometimes you'll notice that the information isn't transferring over like you thought, right? Even though the integration may be set up correctly, sometimes your issue lies in the field type of the custom field you created in ActiveCampaign. When in doubt, text input. Everything will talk in a text input. But let's say, I'm just going to make this up. Let's say you had some text input spots somewhere else, and or on a different outside software, and information just wasn't coming over, and maybe you had it set up as checkboxes or radio boxes, and it wasn't working. If you create another field with the same name and map it there with text input, it'll work almost every time. So maybe that doesn't make sense now. But if you're ever like, man, this stuff is hooked up properly, why is information not transferring? The first thing I'll tell you is go look at the field type you selected for your custom field. And if you're going to have fields that are populated from an integration or a form, text input is what you want to use most of the time, or text area, okay, for that reason. So I hope that makes sense. This allows you to focus on the information that you want and get rid of the information that you don't. You may have a custom field for a while and say, you know what, this information is worthless. I'm going to delete it. So you can do all that as well. All right, the next video, we're going to talk about the same concept under the deals menu, and I'll show you where the deals menu is relevant and why that can be more important than this in some scenarios. Okay, see you in the next video.